Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome to our Facebook Live to get to know our teachers a little better today. I'm with our teacher, Craig. Craig, how are you today?
Hello, Stephanie. I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm very happy to welcome you to this live and get to know you a little bit better. And we'll talk about where you're from and your hobbies and your experience, and I'm sure a lot of other things. But let's start with yourself. Just tell us a little bit of your background, where you're from, and how you got into teaching.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm originally from England, and I'm from a little town called West Bromwich, which is in the Midlands, which is just outside of the big city of Birmingham. Um, there are a lot of big cities in England. Some people will probably be familiar with Birmingham because it's normally, if you take a train from London to Manchester, you'll pass through it. So it's just a little town outside called West Bromwich. And I grew up there. I was there for around about 18, 19 years. I was there before I moved on to university. And at that point, I went to the University of Manchester in order to study history and Spanish, which I graduated in when I was around 22. And then I immediately came to Mexico. If you ask me about why I came to Mexico, well, and why I started with teaching English, well, I graduated and I really didn't know what I wanted to do at that moment. At the same time, I was in a relationship, so I was actually in love with somebody, with a woman from Mexico, and I decided to, hey, why not? Why don't I go back to Mexico, because I was there for an exchange year? Why don't I go back and start a life there? So
Nice.
when I was here, I decided that I would look for work. And at the time, that I think what came into my head was, well, I have the skills. I always wanted to teach. Why not start doing a course to become certified in English teaching? And that's kind of where it started. And that's where
Amazing.
my passion.
Amazing. So we have to tell our people who are watching us that you are in Mexico at the moment. What do you like about Mexico? What makes you want to stay there?
Well, when I was younger, everyone has this kind of idea that places like Mexico is just a place of fun and adventure, and it definitely is a place of fun and adventure. There's a sense of lawlessness here too. There's a sense of lawlessness. If you remember from a lot of the spaghetti western movies, where a lot of the criminals always escape to the south to Mexico because that's where there's no law. So when I first came here, I realized I could do a lot of things here that I couldn't do in the UK, which I enjoyed. A lot of sinful things, a lot of vice happens here. So that was originally why I came here. But I've always had an interest in history, and I was fascinated by the history of Mexico after I saw a documentary on the BBC about the conquistadores. And I wanted to retrace the steps of, Hernan Cortes and people who came over here. So that was one of the reasons why I came, not just for the fun and the adventure. It was also because of a lot of the history that Mexico has is really fascinating.
Right.
And I decided to stay because it became my home.
Wow, that's interesting. So you came and you were speaking Spanish already when you arrived, right? Because you studied at university.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing was when I first came to Mexico, it was part of my studies. In the UK, which is a great thing that they do, is they always give the option of doing a language with a main subject. So in this case, I was never great at Spanish, but I loved it. I mean, I just love languages and I loved Spanish. So I decided to do it at university. And of course, the first couple of years, it was very difficult. As soon as I came to Mexico, as soon as I spent a year as an exchange student, it increased enormously. It was such a big improvement to my Spanish, to the point that when I returned to England, and I was in a class with all my other classmates, everyone was speaking Spanish with different accents because everyone had gone to different countries in different Spanish-speaking countries in the world. So everyone came back with different Spanish-speaking accents, which was kind of hilarious, really, because I came back with the Mexican accent. People came back with the Spanish or Argentinian accent. So yeah, I did find that my Spanish improved because I was speaking it every day with Mexican people, and that is the key point. It's about speaking and speaking and speaking.
Absolutely. You know? That's what happened to me, because when I left France, I wanted to improve my English, and I went to live in Ireland. So I spent a couple of years there because I found a job, but my goal was really to become fluent in English. Yes. And only when you're in a full immersion environment, then you can learn and improve your skills. And that's a little bit what we're trying to do at Live English, like to have this half an hour, 45-minute session with your teacher, but there's no other language. There's only English in the classroom. So we're really trying to recreate this environment without the traveling and the not everyone can spend a year or 6 months in a foreign country just to learn a language. So I can relate to that.
You're absolutely right. And you know what? If you're not able to go and spend 6 months or a year in another country, there's so many ways that you can surround yourself with the language and the culture of the language, your target language. I mean, when I was in Manchester and I wanted to learn Spanish, I went to the Cervantes Institute. There was always an institute there where you could go, spend days, evenings, watching movies, reading books, going to talks, conferences, and just immersing yourself in the culture and the language.
You're absolutely right. And I think nowadays it's even easier because with the internet, you can have access to the local TV, you can have access to the BBC articles, you can have access to videos on YouTube. And it's so much easier than when I was a student. I don't know how old you are, but when I was a student, we didn't have access to all this.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm talking some time ago. I'm not going to say how old I am, but I'm talking about 15 or more years ago. So yeah, things have definitely been improved massively for people. And yeah, there's no reason to say that you can't do it. You can do it. It's about showing a positive attitude. I always find always showing a positive attitude. It doesn't matter sometimes if you are going to make some errors or mistakes. Positive attitude is the most important thing here. And I'll give you an example. I had a friend of mine once who actually came to me and told me that he had trouble going to one of the chemists or pharmacists here because he wanted to look for some medicine, and he had diarrhea. so he was looking for some something to help him to stop his diarrhea, but he didn't want to choose the wrong medicine, because if he chose a laxative, it's going to be a problem. And so his Spanish is not very good. He doesn't really know that much Spanish. So when he went to the pharmacy, he was asking, and the pharmacist was trying to respond in the best English that she had, and she was too worried about getting the right grammar, and the right words. And she's like, and she started to get nervous and flustered, like, how do I tell this guy, And then there's another pharmacist next to her, and she just went, okay, this is for diarrhea. This one, okay, constipation. And that was it.
Right.
Like, she didn't actually, you have to use so many complex grammatical structures to do it.
Right.
Her attitude was positive, and it was straight to the point, and she was able to get a message across so much more easier.
Right.
So, like I said, sometimes it doesn't matter if you are going to make some mistakes. Just keep on positive attitude, okay? Show some passion, and you will get your message across.
Absolutely. I think there's sometimes students come to us and they feel a little bit nervous because they know their English is not perfect, so they don't like talking to. I mean, they're really stressed before their first lesson with a teacher, But really, we don't expect you students to speak perfectly. We are here to help you. So even if you make mistakes, it's perfectly fine, and it's through mistakes that we learn. So no need to be nervous. And I think you, Craig, and other teachers, we always try to create a nice environment, a safe environment where we can make mistakes and get the tools. So the teacher is here to bring the tools and the vocabulary, the grammar, explanation, so that you don't make the mistake anymore. But making the mistake is actually, it's okay. It's not a problem.
Yes, you will learn. And the best thing about anything is self-correction. Okay, if you self-correct yourself, then part of my job is done already, because you are aware and conscious of the mistake you made and you corrected yourself. And that's, for me, that's a really important part of your learning.
Exactly. Okay, so going back to teaching, I saw also on the when we interviewed you for the job that you are an IELTS examiner. Can you tell us a little bit more about the IELTS? What are the requirements? What are the tips that you could give our students who are watching us?
Well, yeah, of course, the IELTS and the demand for IELTS has grown enormously. And I know that a lot of people now are looking to start a new life or work or to study in certain countries like Canada or Australia, where IELTS is predominant there. So there have been a lot of people who have been wanting to take this test, and it's a very good option to do. Of course, for people who are not familiar with IELTS, there is two types of exams. We have the academic and we have the general English exam. So depending on if you want to work or live, or if you just want to go and study. And my tips for people who are going to take the IELTS exam, well, in terms of the exam itself, of course, time management is important. Okay, making sure that you do things in a way that you are conscious about the time that you have available. In terms of the speaking, I would say that you've just got to relax. Okay. In preparation, you just need to immerse yourself in various topics, because during the examination itself, you don't know exactly what topic is going to come up. All right. So you've got to have some general knowledge of different topics so that you can be able to speak about them and express yourself. If you want to get into more detail, I would say try to learn certain discourse markers, things that you can say during your examination. Okay, just to guide the examiner and to give structure to what you're saying. But really, it's just to immerse yourself in the various general knowledge with topics, whether it's health, food, whether it's, music, sport, politics. Okay.
Can you give us an example of subject? Just one, how would it be worded if I was going to take the IELTS and I'm doing the speaking part? What kind of subject would I get?
Well, if you were going to, you might get a topic about, with the IELTS, everything is connected in a sense. So there is a flow going through. They try to link one thing to the next. So they might ask you about, for example, population growth, cities, okay, the urban landscape. They might ask you about how, about how population has grown, and if in the future, how do you see cities are going to be, maybe in 10, 20 years time? Is it going to be the same as now? Are things going to change? Is the infrastructure going to be the same? They might ask you about a building, like a building that you visited that you love a lot, and they might ask you to tell them a little bit about that place and why you found it fascinating. About it, maybe the architecture of that building, maybe interior decoration,
Right.
They want to just see how you can express yourself well, okay? And if you do know certain vocabulary, And it doesn't have to be so technical, the vocabulary, of course. It just has to be vocabulary that's related to that, So,
right.
like I said, there are various topics that they might ask you. So you
and there's in terms of notation, you have from 1 to 9, right? Where 9 is the best mark you can get.
9 is the best you can get, but it all depends on what the requirements are. So a lot of times they're not asking you for 9. If you do get 9, that's excellent, of course. But a lot of times they're not asking you for that.
Most people will need to let's say to relocate to Australia, like they would need something like 7.5, right? Do you know?
Yes. I mean, you've got to have pretty much what we would call a more proficient level. Okay, so you're able to speak with people on a daily basis. Okay, clearly and well. So yes, a 7 would be perfect for that. Okay, 7 or higher. And again, yes, I understand that some people find that they might be at a 6, and they just want to get that extra half points, the 2 half points that are needed, and it can be done. Trust me. Okay, with preparation, it can be done. I mean, it's maybe with at least 50 hours of practice, you can be able to get that 7 that you're looking for.
Right.
So it is achievable, definitely.
Right. Mm-hmm. There's hope, and I think sometimes these exams are life changers because it is the difference between relocating and not relocating. So it could be a big big stake.
It is, and I understand that it's very serious for people. And of course, as teachers, we try to tell people that this could be make or break. So do take things do take that into consideration where you're preparing for it. Okay, please don't wonder in going, I know English, I can do this. No, trust me, it's not. You can't do that. You can't just walk in and think that it's going to be a blast. Okay, you do require some preparation. But like I said, you need to immerse yourself in the language. Various ways you can do that. Yeah, there's so many resources that we can use. Mm-hmm.
Right. Thank you, Craig. I think that's really useful. Anyway, I think we got to know you a little bit more about on your professional experience. So tell us a little bit more about your hobbies, and I know you like music and the guitar and the piano, and tell us a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, I'm really interested in music. I always have been. And I love the fact that I can just listen to something new. I'm not particular about any genre of music. I mean, I listen to pretty much everything because for me, it's not about the type of music. It's about a lot more. It's about the composition. It's about the lyrics. And I've always liked music. I do play some guitar, and I've been playing keyboards as well. I've been in a couple of bands here in Mexico. I was also in the band at high school many years ago, and we recorded 3 demo albums. And now I've moved into DJing. So I do DJing part-time at various bars and restaurants around the city of Guadalajara. And I've been doing that for 10 years now, which I really enjoy. And I get a lot of nice feedback from people who come up to me and say, I really like your music. And I was like, oh, excellent. And it's none of this electronic kind of music. It's a little bit more stylistic, I guess, So bit of soul, bit of rock and roll, some funk, that kind of stuff, So not really what you might consider from a real DJ. more like a selector, I would guess,
Very nice.
That's been one of my passions here, and I'm also passionate about dance, and I can dance salsa, cumbia. I love that salsa, cumbia. A little bit of tango I learned as well, which is really nice. And then we have a lot of regional Mexican dances, which is kind of funny. The quebradita or the duranguense. So banda. for anyone who's familiar with all these musical styles, you can check it out. And
yeah, I'll have a look. I have no clue what you're talking about, but yeah, it sounds fascinating.
Yeah, that's all part of of the language learning. I mean, you find something that you like about a certain culture, and if you find something that you like about English culture, immerse yourself in it. Okay, and trust me, you'll find that it's going to help you to understand, because when you understand a culture, you understand the language. When you understand the language, you understand the culture.
Absolutely. I think the link between culture and language is so tight, and they go hand in hand, for sure, for sure.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Craig, for your time. It was a pleasure talking with you and learn more about you. So I will see you next week on the Facebook Live for a new interview, and we'll post about it next few days.
Yes,
thank you, and
thank you,
bye for
Stephanie.
now. Bye, Craig. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.